Question 1. Trailer. My trailer uses the convention of a non-linear narrative as it sets up the backstory and then shows action scenes from different points in my film. This is a convention seen in most British social realism films, and one I analysed in both Green Street and Shank.
My life is tough.
My film also included typical conventions of the main character providing a brief voiceover to add depth to the story. This was used in Green Street and is a typical narrative convention as it identifies who the main character is and what the film's plots will include. My film follows one of the central characters, not a group of young people, like in Green Street or Shank. Therefore, it challenges conventions of youth hanging around in gangs and groups. My central character is a countertype because he is a lone drug dealer, and for that reason challenges convention. Rick Altman's syntactic theory talks about the plots and themes of a film, and my film trailer features a lot of hints on what they may be. My opening scene shows how my character's life has ups and downs, with him laughing with his ex to showing him failing his exam results. This is supported by a voiceover which states that his life has ups and downs. My movie trailer then begins to quicken as it shows his deterioration to a life of drugs and crime. You see icons typical in social realism films of marijuana, cocaine, drug deals, weapons and alcohol. I use form and conventions in my trailer because my iconography suits the genre of film. I use more mise-en-scène to add to the plots and themes. For example, Nathan puts on a balaclava and picks up a wooden 2x2 in the final scenes, perhaps connoting that he's going to commit some sort of crime. This also follows Roland Barthes's Enigma Code, as the audience is not sure who he is going to attack or who he is going to murder. The cocaine that is seen being cut up in the montage scenes shows that he is not just selling, but he is using drugs and is heavily involved with drugs. In the initial first drug dealing scene, he is selling marijuana. He then moves on to cocaine, which is a harder drug. This shows the transition between the drugs classes and the change in the character. Representation of people in my film uses convention. My main character Nathan is shown as a young person whose life is slowly turned upside down by drugs and alcohol. This is a typical convention seen in social realism films, as drugs is a real problem on the inner city. Nathan is also influenced by Vince, the drug dealer who ends up becoming his mentor and eventual enemy in the streets. Vince's face isn't revealed in the trailer as I want him to become enigmatic to the audience. It also gives him a sinister persona, as you can't tell who he is or what he looks like. Vince is a conventional character because he is a mentor like the character in Shank who helps the newcomer develop their skills. He eventually betrays his protege and Nathan becomes a lone drug dealer. These two characters use convention as they are both young men struggling to survive in their urban environment. Demi, who is the female character towards the middle and the end of the film trailer, is Nathan's new girlfriend who is worried about Nathan hanging around and getting involved with the wrong crowd. This is conventional as she plays the worried loved one who is trying to stop the main character taking the road he has chosen. The locations used are typical conventions for this genre. I use locations such as alleyways, dark rooms and vandalised walls to make the film look urban and represent it in such a way that it showed the gritty side of inner city Britain. The alleyways I filmed the chase scene in has a lot of alcohol bottles scattered across it. I use this location because it represents the drinking culture of youths who inhabit it. The locations I filmed in use convention because they are typical areas youth hang around in and are commonplace for the themes in my film to take place. Poster. My film poster follows narrative conventions of social realist films as it shows the central character directly addressing the camera looking troubled. This is shown on the Green Street poster, however it has a group shot. I opted against this as my film focuses more on the story of my central character rather than a group of characters. This goes against films I analysed their posters as they feature group shots. My film poster contains iconography. For example, my central character has his hood up suggesting he is hiding his identity or just keeping a low profile, which may suggest he is involved in criminal or suspicious activity. Rick Altman's syntactic theory is used in my imagery because it highlights potential plots and themes as the character is looking very suspicious with his hood up. The stereotype of my main character from this image uses convention as he is portrayed as the youth who may cause trouble and perhaps be a problem to society. The setting looks urban as it is a grey wall which looks run down. This adds to the sinister and threatening look in my central character's face, which links back to the syntactic theory. The shot type I use is a conventional mid-shot which is used in Green Street. It shows his face and his general emotion. It also shows his posture, which says a lot about the character. My character has a tense but confident pose as he is at ease with the street image, but he always fears his surrounding and accepts that he puts himself in danger with his lifestyle. I use institutional conventions in my poster, with the billing block being in the font Steel Tongs and my institutional companies being situated beneath it. I did this because the posters I looked at didn't break convention, therefore I also followed it. My typography is sans serif, is in the same title used on the website. My captions and actor's name are in Arial Black, which is also a sans serif font. This uses the conventions I studied in my analysis, as social realism films use basic bold fonts that stood out. The bold red for a state connotes blood and violence, which are common themes in social realism. My poster uses the convention of review quotes to promote the film. The website uses genre conventions that I studied in my textual analysis. For example, the use of character/characters in a rugged urban background can be seen on the Shank and Green Street websites. This follows narrative and genre conventions, as it shows the urban setting of the film and also the characters who are portrayed in it. The main images of typically working class characters, as you can tell from their clothes and attire. The institutional information on my website runs along the bottom corner. This includes my production and distribution companies, which are Gunslinger and Revolver Entertainment. These are conventional companies, as they are the creators of Shank, the film that I analyse. The position of my institutional information is conventional, as it's situated away from the more important features on the page. This was used in both the film websites I analysed. My film used a typical representation of urban youth causing trouble within society. The character on my website is shown with his hood up, suggesting that he is trying to hide his identity. The shot type is mid-shot. This uses the convention, as it shows some of the character but not all of it. My typography is mainly sans serif. This uses convention for social realism film, as it's blocky and gives the urban feel to the font. Estate is red, which makes it stand out. It also gives connotations of blood and violence, which are common themes in the film. This uses forms and conventions of British social realism, as the font is bold and eye-catching, but still looks urban and basic. My film also included typical conventions of the main character providing a brief voiceover to add depth to the story. This was used in Green Street and is a typical narrative convention as it identifies who the main character is and what the film's plots will include. My film follows one of the central characters, not a group of young people, like in Green Street or Shank. Therefore, it challenges conventions of youth hanging around in gangs and groups. My central character is a countertype because he is a lone drug dealer, and for that reason challenges convention.